The Department of Finance is forecasting a massive €9.2 billion government surplus this year. That's €4 billion more than had been expected for 2026. Economic growth has been downgraded slightly as a result of the US-Iran war. But in its spring economic statement, the department says even in the most severe scenario, it expects the economy to grow.
It was an economic forecast that many expected would contain dark warnings, but the bright light of big government surpluses continues to shine. The extra cash in the state coffers is now projected to be around €4 billion higher than previously thought, thanks to factors including higher corporate tax receipts and lower spending by bodies outside of central government departments, such as local authorities. But more money means more pressure for spending increases and tax cuts on budget day.
We as a government are committed to a personal income tax package in the budget. I suppose that's a stated fact of the government. We weren't in a position to deliver one this year because of other decisions the government felt it was prudent and important to make.
The opposition accused the government of not using its big surplus to help those who need it.
Will you give hope to hard-pressed PAYE workers, adopt targeted energy credits, support pay rises and invest in real climate action?
The government really needs to get a grip on this year, needs to understand and listen to where people are at, and needs to make sure that a fraction of those ballooning surpluses are provided to support workers and families at this time of crisis.
The government today did announce additional spending in the area of education, which will be paid for by a levy on other departments.
An expenditure levy is being applied to departments from 2027 and will require them to implement increased reforms and efficiencies in the order of €446 million.
Today's spring economic forecast analyses three scenarios linked to the depth and duration of the war in Iran. In the severe scenario, oil prices would rise to $150 a barrel, inflation would jump to 4.6% this year and even higher next year, while economic growth, as measured by modified domestic demand, would slow this year to just 1.5%.
Today's economic forecast is one step along the road to budget day. In June, there will be a national economic dialogue, followed by the summer economic statement in July. Projections and forecasts that will have to be drawn up amid a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape.
And while those global threats may not be denting the government's coffers, households will continue to feel the pressure of rising prices.
And Brian is here in studio now for more on this. Brian, even in the worst case scenario, the economy has a buffer of cash. There's going to be huge pressure on the government now to spend some of that, isn't there?
Absolutely, Sharon. We went into today's briefing in the Department of Finance expecting a bit of doom and gloom, looking at what the Iran war would do in a worst case scenario. And yes, there was the worst case scenario that we mentioned there. Oil, $150 a barrel, big spike in inflation, big slowdown in growth. But there would still be growth. And then I suppose that big headline figure coming out of that briefing today that many did not expect, that this government surplus that they thought would be about $5 billion at the end of the year will actually be $9 billion, $4 billion higher. So what happened? Well, the tariff threat from Donald Trump wasn't as bad as expected. There was a big investment in AI and data centres. Our old friend corporation tax kept on giving. And we see a scenario whereby other government bodies outside of central government departments didn't actually spend as much as they thought they would. These would be local authorities. There was also an increase in the social insurance fund. So it all spells this scenario whereby there is more money now there than they thought there would be. But it is extremely volatile. And yes, we laid out the worst case scenario today in terms of Iran, but who knows what's coming around the corner? A very unpredictable president in the White House, huge geopolitical uncertainty. So of course, those numbers could be wrong in the other direction, just as they were wrong in the right direction, if you want to look at it that way. So the government has to walk that line, and they have to temper expectations, and they have to ensure that they have the buffers in place. And interestingly, on a paper level, they're actually projecting a deficit of €1.2 billion, and that is because they're going to be putting so much money into rainy day funds and long-term funds. So it is all about tempering expectations. We're going to hear a lot, I think, over the coming weeks and months about the dark winter ahead, but I can tell you, Sharon, the sun was certainly shining today, and it was most definitely shining down on the Department of Finance as they deliver those results.
All right, work and technology correspondent Brian O'Donovan, thank you for that. Returning now to the government's financial projections, which were published today in the middle of widespread geopolitical uncertainty. And we're joined by Minister for Expenditure, Jack Chambers. Thanks for coming in to speak to us this evening, Minister.
Thanks, Sharon.
So you forecasted for three different scenarios, from baseline to severe, depending on what happens in the world, because we don't know, it's changing day to day. All of those scenarios, though, show prices going up. So does that mean everybody is going to be worse off in a few months' time?
Well, what it shows is that we've incredible strength in the Irish economy and huge resilience across our economy, that we're going to still see continued growth of employment, but that we have a slight downward adjustments around the level of growth that we'll see over the next 2 years. And that means we have to be careful, responsible and sensible in all of the expenditure decisions that we make. But it's a much different inflationary environment than what we would have seen in 2022 and 23 for many of our viewers who experienced between 8 and 10% in different periods of significant inflationary impacts. That's due to be about over 3% this year, and it could, in a worst case scenario, go to over 4%. And that's why it was right that we provided the €750 million package in recent weeks to reduce the potential price at the pumps for diesel and petrol, and also the intervention we made around fuel allowance, which is really important for low-income households. But because of our economic management, we're continuing to run budgetary surpluses and protecting Ireland's long-term future. And that's why we've lots in the opposition calling for us to spend everything today.
Well, that's the big news that came out of today. A €9 billion surplus. That's nearly double what was projected in the last budget. So why can't you help people out, as the opposition are calling for?
We're still expanding public services. We're still making interventions at the €750 million intervention, and we'll have a package that's quite substantial in 2027, which will go to about €125 billion in total expenditure planned for 2027. And that provides huge scope to government to improve public services, to build more homes and support workers and families right across the country. But we need to be very careful. We cannot excessively narrow our tax base and massively increase expenditure. That presents huge risk for the Irish economy and for Ireland. And I want to ensure that decisions we make today ensure that we've growth, prosperity and a positive future for people into the 2030s and the 2040s.
All the forecasts today show consumer spending will go down, presumably because people do not have the money to spend because things are more expensive. You said today that last year's budget didn't give workers a break. Given that surplus, can workers expect a break this year? Well, a priority for the Taoiseach and myself around any tax package is to give workers and families a break from an income tax perspective. But that has to be carefully calibrated and balanced in the context of what's available to government and what we've planned in our medium-term fiscal and structural plan. Last year we made interventions to support the supply of more homes, which was the right thing to do to enhance the viability and construction of more homes right across our economy. It's a priority for so many people watching this evening. But ensuring that we give workers a break is also a priority for government, and doing it in a safe, sustainable and affordable way is what's critical to building that long-term resilience in the Irish economy. Will supports, though, be kept under review? Because between now and the budget in October, prices are probably going to continue going up. We don't know what's going to happen with energy prices. And we know that over 300,000 people are already in arrears on their electricity bills. So that's why, if you take the intervention that Ireland has already made, €750 million is the most substantial package per capita of any EU member state. And that's, I think, justifies why we've been careful in recent years around the extent to our level of intervention. When opposition parties were calling on us to spend everything tomorrow, we've been careful in putting money aside, like any prudent or responsible household would do. So could there be more support in the coming months? What we've been clear about is we're going to continue to review the position internationally. Energy prices have massive volatility attached to them. But our real focus is on Budget 27, giving workers and families a break, trying to improve public services, and most critically, building more homes and ensuring that we protect the long-term interests of the Irish economy. On more homes, because we know we do have a housing crisis, and the government is proposing now that people will be allowed to put modular homes in their gardens. Isn't that a recipe for disaster if the same rental rules do not apply? We have Threshold, Age Action, the Irish Council for International Students, all saying don't do this until basic protections are put in place. This is a practical measure that's been introduced, and Minister Brown is correct in cutting red tape. We have a lot of planners spending significant time assessing whether a modular home can be put in a back garden. I think it's a practical measure which will help increase the overall level of supply, and we need to focus our planners' work on wider considerations, and that's why we're right to broaden the exemptions. And I think this will be welcomed by many people who would like to place such a modular home in their back garden. Back to my question, is it not a recipe for disaster if you do not have rental regulations in place to protect people? Well, there'll be a licence range, just like, for example, if someone rents a room in their property, similar rules will apply to that in the context of a modular home that's built in a back garden. So it's a similar
engagement will apply between anyone who takes that room as would apply for someone renting a room in a home. And our single biggest focus as a government is to increase supply, and that will that's our central focus in all aspects of housing policy over the next month, over the months ahead.
All right, Minister for Public Expenditure Jack Chambers, thanks for speaking to us on 616.
Thank you.